Well, the Central Board of Film Certification is at it again, and the Chief Pahlaj Nihalani, in his latest move, has stalled the release of Babumoshai Bandookbaaz, starring Nawazuddin Siddiqui. The film has been asked to make 48 cuts by the Central Board of Film Certification. The film's producer, Kiran, has revealed in a press meet on Wednesday that the CBFC's chief said he will not allow her to release the film if they approach the revising committee. Earlier today, when Mirror Now sought Mr. Nihalani's version and his response, he was, as usual, dismissive and, quite frankly, arrogant. A lot of people have voiced their opinion on this subject, and one of them is Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha. Dr. Swamy joins us right now on Mirror Now exclusively. It's a pleasure to speak with you, Dr. Swamy. Thank you for joining us. In your tweet, and I quote, you say, Bollywood, Tamil, etc. films blindly ape public display of decadent West mores on sex, justifying even eve-teasing. Nihalani, keep at it. Dr. Swamy, do you believe that Mr. Nihalani and the board here is in the right? Because there's a lot of criticism about the fact that this is restricting creative freedom of artists.
Yes, so you see, this concept of freedom, one must understand we are all bound by the Constitution, whether we like it or not. And if you don't like it, you try and amend it. But as of now, the Constitution, which gives you fundamental rights, also prescribes under Article 20, bracket 2, that all these fundamental rights will be subject to reasonable restrictions. And they have categorized these various reasonable restriction categories. And even for religious rights, they have put 3 conditions: that it should not affect public health, it should be, if there are grounds for immorality or immorality, then religious rights can be curbed. And similarly, if it creates public disorder, religious rights can be curbed. So all our fundamental rights are not absolute, but subject to reasonable restriction. The only quarrel will come as to what is reasonable restriction, and that the courts usually decide. But I must say that we BJP people feel that we have come to power for the first time in 33 years of any party on the grounds that there was a groundswell for the concept of Hindutva. Certainly Narendra Modi's governance principle was very important, but the workers were mobilized on the Hindutva principle, and we feel that that is carrying us further in the future too. It will be a major factor. In UP, we have got 75% of the seats only on the issue of Hindutva. So we can't be expected to cater to the Western concepts.
I am tempted to ask you if it was Hindutva or the concept or the promise of development that brought the groundswell and the election to the BJP. But I am going to ask you this. The film is seeking an adult certification. And post it seeking that adult certification within the reasonable restrictions of freedom of speech, where is the justification for the 48 cuts of the film, which the entire team have told us will ruin the concept, ruin the script of the film completely? The argument is that the characters are not polished, they're not refined, they're rural characters. And for the art to be honest, they have to use the language they're using.
Well, the CBFC has been designated to decide what can be cut and what not be cut. If they become unreasonable, you can always challenge it in the courts. But I do think that the cinemas that I have, I've seen very few cinemas, but whatever little I've seen, I do feel that we ape the West blindly, and the Western morals are not suitable for our country.
Well, to be fair, this is a certification body and not the censor board anymore. Their job is limited to certifying and not cutting the film. And also, I want to bring your attention to the fact that the producer of the film has told us that the CBFC chief said, if you approach the review board, I will never allow you to release this film. Is the CBFC and the chief in this case and several other cases in the past completely misunderstood their role in, in this process? Are they overstepping?
Who's to decide this, whether they're overstepped or not? In our system, the only people who can decide is the courts. Why don't these people go to the courts and challenge it? And then I think you will find today a new mood. Even the courts will put restrictions which you will not like.
So you're saying the concept of Hindutva that caused the groundswell has also reached the courts? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you see, the Supreme Court has to interpret the Constitution. And if so far, when the previous government was there, they had those kinds of CBFC, which were, I would say, a little more relaxed about these matters. But we are very clear that we don't want the Western morality to swamp our country, and we intend to do something about it.
Right. So you believe the ideas in this film are fundamentally Western. It's interesting because it's a rural India-based film. But I want to focus on the argument that the CBFC chief offered, which is that in spite of the fact that it's A-rated, he can't stop children from watching the film, and that's the problem with the content, that if children watch the film, it's unsuitable. But isn't that a problem really of enforcement of the rating and not necessarily a reason to punish the artists?
Well, it's actually the technology is such that now parents have lost control over little children. You can get it on the mobile phone, you can get it on your iPad. So he's right that the previous insulation that families could give to their children on these matters are no more in their control. The moment they go to school, they use their mobiles. And therefore, the concept of adults only is a meaningless concept.
So your argument here is that all of the content that should be released in India should be Disney and Nickelodeon friendly because it will be accessed by children anyway.
Yes, I do think that it should be Hindutva friendly.
Hindutva friendly. Are we talking child friendly or Hindutva friendly? And are those the same things, Dr. Swamy?
Hindutva friendly, we care a lot for our families. Our children are treated very well, unlike other places, and they're looked after till they become even adults. So I think we have a totally different concept from the West, and we don't want those kinds of freedoms that the Western societies believe in here. We think that is licentious. It's not for our culture.
I'm also tempted to argue books of the Kama Sutra, temples of Khajuraho, sculptures that are fundamentally Indian. Yeah. Are we going to shield that from our children as well?
Well, those are, first of all, let me say that Kama Sutra has made it very clear in the very first sloka that it is meant between a man and woman who are married. And for us, Ramchandra ji was the example, and he had only one wife. His father had 3 wives, but he had only one, and he made a pledge to Sita that he'll never look at another woman. So that's why we call him Maryada Purushottam. That is the concept. That is the concept we idealize. So as far as Khajuraho is concerned, it came at a most decadent period of our society, and that's why we had all these 1,000 years of foreign invasions and so on, which we had a great deal of difficulty. Earlier on, women were treated extremely well. Mahabharata was fought because a woman was humiliated. Same thing with Ramayana. A woman was kidnapped, and it led to war. And women have always enjoyed equal rights. All our premier goddesses like Saraswati, Lakshmi and Durga, they represent 3 of the most powerful aspects of our society. One is education, other is finance, and the third is defense. And women have always enjoyed that kind of rights which we have forgotten in the last 1,000 years, and we need to restore it.
Well, that brings me to my next question, Dr. Swamy. The producers have claimed that they were insulted and harassed by the members of the board. One person even commented on the producer's clothes. She's a woman. They said, what sort of a woman? You're obviously not a woman because you've showed up wearing trousers and a shirt. How could you have made this film as a woman? Does that in any way reflect the respect for women that you're referring to? It seems like the censor board hasn't fully understood what you're talking about.
Well, I think she should file a complaint, because that would be an offensive remark. What women wear, we can't really tell them what they should wear, but we can always propagate that the saris and the salwar kameez are the best dresses to wear in a hot country like ours, hot climate country like ours, but you can't impose
based on what
what you have to wear.
Dr. Swamy, based on what research are the saris and salwar kameezes the best outfits to wear in our climate?
You read the changes that get caused in your reproductive system when you wear tight clothes in hot climates. You can go to Google and find out.
Well, I also want to bring your attention, Dr. Swamy, to the fact that in the south of India, until not so long ago, women were entirely topless apart from jewelry. That is traditional, that is Indian. Would you recommend going back to that? Because it was so hot. It's hotter in the south than it is in the north, to be fair.
I would not recommend women do this and women do that. I will only say that I don't want them to ape the West.
Why not?
They shouldn't think
that. Okay, so let's take this argument one step further. We have a parliamentary democracy that we inherited from the United Kingdom, which is an entire format inherited from the United Kingdom.
Did not. Parliamentary democracy didn't come from England. It came from our Panchayat Raj, and we had democracy all through our before foreign invasions. Also, all our kingdoms were practiced on democracy. The policy makers were not the kings. It was those who were learned people who had no weapons, no wealth, and they had no land. They were poor people, but they were highly rated in society.
The format of democracy that we follow in Parliament, in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, is that not based on the lower and the upper houses of England?
But listen, if you start arguing that, then Britain doesn't have a constitution. We have a constitution. Britain doesn't have a Supreme Court. We have a Supreme Court. So, I mean, there are lots of differences. We have taken here and there and put it together, which is best suited for us.
All right. By that argument, we should give up computers, we should give up Twitter, we should give up Facebook, we should give up a lot of the science and technology that we've picked up from the West, but we won't go down that road because it's a long and a windy road. I just have one question.
No, the West picked up calculus from us, West picked up rocketry from us. So that borrowing of technology has taken place both ways.
My last question to you is, our constitution says that we are fundamentally a secular country. We are not a Hindutva country. Do you believe that that should be followed to the final letter of the constitution?
The constitution, the word secular came in 1976. It is not there in any of the articles of the constitution. And the only part which is secular, which we accept, is that all religions lead to God. Christianity doesn't accept that. Islam doesn't accept that. Only Hinduism accepts the concept that all religions lead to God.
What? No, you didn't answer my question. The preamble of our constitution very clearly uses the word secular. Do you believe it doesn't belong there?
Yeah, that was put in 1976 by Mrs. Gandhi during the emergency. It was not there before. The Constituent Assembly explicitly rejected it, saying that Hindu culture is secular, so we don't put that word. The Constitution did not have this word in its original edition. It was only put in as an amendment in 1976 by Mrs. Gandhi.
So your argument is that India is not a secular country, or the word secular needs to be removed from our Constitution?
My argument is that Hinduism is essentially and structurally secular. It allows for all religions to practice. We have done it with Parsis and the Jews. Whoever came to our country, we didn't persecute them. The Jews, in fact, formally adopted this resolution in their parliament that the only country where the Jews were not butchered was India. And so, with that kind of a tradition, I don't have to flaunt my secularism.
All right, Dr. Swamy, I am going to leave you there with that thought. Just to bring our audience up to speed, Dr. Swamy pointing out the fact that he believes Hindus are fundamentally secular, so there's no need for the word secular in the Constitution. I beg to differ. We are a secular country, and we are a country of many religions. We are not a country of one religion, and this country belongs to us all. We are all Indians. The word secular is part of the Constitution as it stands today, and our Constitution is final the way it stands. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with an entire panel to talk about the CBFC demanding 48 cuts of this latest film, in spite of the fact that it has an A-rated certification. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Movies in 30 days. All have run afoul of controversial CBFC Chief Pahlaj Nihalani. This time, the censor board has trained its guns on Nawazuddin Siddiqui's starrer, Babumoshai Bandookbaaz. Censors have demanded 48 cuts to give the movie an adult certificate, a decision that has sparked controversy.
I really think it's high time we decided to get rid of censorship, because I think we can't, we'll not be able to tell stories properly at all.
They had a problem with everything, every particular abuse. They had a problem with intimate scenes. They wanted to chop off 80% of something, 70% of something.
Mirror now reached out again to the whimsical censor board chief. When our reporter questioned him, his arrogance was in full display. Refusing to offer explanations, he dodged all our questions.
What is the opposition regarding the movie?
Excuse me.
Sir, एक interview,
आप जाइए please.
Sir, आपका opposition बता दीजिए. Sir, एक reaction sir.
Just you please. No, I'll tell you. Just you go. I'm not going to say anything.
The controversy has been stoked further by an allegation levelled by the film's producer, Kiran Shroff.
उन्होंने कहा पर ये तो औरत ही नहीं है ना. देखो उन्होंने क्या पहना है. पैंट शर्ट पहन के जो आई है वो औरत कैसे हो सकती है?
Well, this is not the first instance of the CBFC playing moral police. Jab Harry met Sejal and lipstick under my burqa being recent examples, the producer's allegation has forced Bollywood to come out as one.
I mean, I feel that censorship is something that is, I don't know how relevant it is today. And as far as my knowledge goes, the CBFC in any case is not supposed to censor. It's supposed to grade the film, certify कि किस age group को ये film हम दिखा सकते हैं.
In fact, the industry has also petitioned INB Minister Smriti Irani to sack the CBFC chief. As the chorus to oust Nihalani rises, Mirror now asks, is the CBFC overstepping its brief time and again? Isn't it time the government sacks the arrogant CBFC chief? Mirror now report.
Well, the debate tonight is simply about the freedom of expression. The censor board, or the CBFC, is the Board of Film Certification. It is meant to hand over a certificate to a film that details what kind of audience is allowed to see it. If the film is already A certificate, which means that only adults can watch this film, what is the point really of asking for 48 cuts and then threatening both producer and director, saying if you approach the review committee, we will never allow you to release this film. Then going one step further and taunting the director, saying, how can you be a woman if you're dressed in a pant and a shirt? Has the CBFC completely overstepped its brief? Are they behaving like dictators at this point? Are they completely right now in violation of our freedom of expression? That's the question we're asking this evening, and I ask it of you as well. Our phone lines are open and you can join us on invol.in. You just have to log into invol.in and leave a comment on the website after you click on Mirror Now, and it will automatically pop up on our screen. In the meantime, joining us, Divya Dutta, actor and part of the film Babumoshai Bandookbaaz; Ashoke Pandit, member of the Central Board of Film Certification and Vice President of the Indian Motion Picture Producers Association; Nasseer Abdullah is an actor. Some of his famous films, Om Shanti Om and Main Hoon Na. Suparn Verma is an actor and a film director. Neville Shah, stand-up comedian. Naveen Chomal is an advocate. Arjun Gupta is a BJP worker and a member of the Central Board of Film Certification. I welcome all of you to this conversation. I'll start with Ashoke Pandit. Ashoke Pandit, where does the Film Certification Board get off asking for cuts after giving an A rating to the film and then saying we will never allow you to release this film if you seek a review?
First of all, to be very honest, there's nothing to do with CBFC's constitution laws. CBFC is supposed to certify films. With a heavy heart, I would like to tell you that whatever is happening in CBFC now is basically a one-man show. He decides what is to be kept in films, what is not to be kept in films. Otherwise, no constitution of CBFC, whether it's Cinematography Act of 1952 or anywhere it's written that you delete these words. If you go behind Babumoshai Bandookbaaz, look at Hindu Sarkar, you ask remove word like Kishore Kumar, like section officer. So to be very honest, this is arrogance of this chairman, and down the line, the people, the examining committee, the way they behaved with Kiran Shroff, there's nothing to do with law, which Mr. Subramanian Swamy was saying. The first time I'm disagreeing with whatever he said, I was quite sad the way he was, he was saying things about freedom of expression, that we ape Western cinema. In fact, it's other way around now. Western cinema has started, they have started copying us now and demeaning the filmmakers. Saying that we are copycats and we make films whatever is made in what you call in Western is not in good taste. Actually, we don't deserve this kind of a treatment. I was really very sad as a filmmaker that please don't ill-treat us. We are all intelligent people. We make cinema, we work hard, we read, we write, we shoot, we create characters, and cinema has played a very important role in taking India's image to a level as far as international level is concerned. And you will treat our people. You make them stand for 1.5 hours and you are sitting on the chair. So that's why IFTIDA, the Directors Association, and IMPA, we have taken this matter very seriously. Today, a member of the censor committee has said, he has written a letter to Smriti Irani saying that yeah, Kiran Shroff was humiliated by a member called Ravi Prasad, that she is not a woman. Now, where are we heading to? Where are we landing? This has never happened. There were cuts happening earlier. There was point of discussion. But to treat a maker like as if he is a gunda on the road is very sad. Is very sad.
Right, I want to bring in Arjun Gupta, member of the CBFC. Arjun Gupta, there is a letter that has gone out from the IFTDA saying that this sort of behaviour in this context is a unilateral attitude that in the CBFC's view of insulting the intelligence of cinegoers. It has asked that the Honourable Minister of Information and Broadcasting relook at how this particular board is functioning. Please explain to me, in what brief does it allow members of the board to harangue and harass a producer because she's a woman based on what she's wearing? Mr. Gupta.
देखिए, मैं CBFC में कार्ड शार्ट के खिलाफ नहीं हूँ, लेकिन उस महिला के साथ, उस बहन के साथ, उस महिला निर्माता के साथ जो अभद्र व्यवहार हुआ, उससे मैं दुखी हूँ। किसी भी अधिकारी को ये फर्ज नहीं है कि आपने फिल्म कैसे, आप महिला होकर फिल्म कैसे बनाई। कोई सदस्य नहीं पूछ सकता कि आप महिला होकर पुरुष का कपड़ा क्यों पहनी है। इसके विरोध में हूँ, और जो सदस्यों ने इसकी बात की है उस पर कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
लेकिन आपको लगता है ये जो कट्स मांगे हुए हैं ये सही है?
नहीं, कट्स देखिए, कट्स तो सेंसर बोर्ड का नियम है, उसमें मैं हस्तक्षेप नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन महिला के साथ जो अभद्र व्यवहार हुआ वो उसके मैं विरोध में हूँ और हमेशा विरोध में रहूंगा।
Neville Shah, here's the interesting thing. While Mr. Gupta says cuts are part of what they do, it's not.
No,
the board has to only give out certification, not hand out a scissors.
Yeah. So that's the question isn't about freedom of speech, and all of these are far-fetched conversations in 2017. But the thing is, really, apart from it being a body that is just supposed to certify and give out a censor certificate, the real question lies in the defense of how these guys sort of defend their actions, right? Like, for example, with Harry Met Sejal, there was this thing of, would you want your kids to hear the word intercourse?
Yes.
They should. I mean, we're a country of 1.2 billion people. I mean, we didn't just get here, right? I mean, there is a reason we're here. And I think that sort of conversation is important. I think parents should be talking to kids. Parents should explain to it. I mean, it's not an idea that is brought in from the West or anything like that. I think intercourse is part of our culture. That's why we're the second most populated nation in the country, in the world, sorry. So I think that is really what it is. It's the defense that they come. I think it's just taking an axe to certain scenes, because I think they don't work for my family. I mean, it's not a personal sort of body. So I don't think you can, and we've always said this, it's a certification body, give out a certificate and then let the law enforcers enforce it.
Yes. You know, I have a couple of questions right now, and I'm going to take these questions to Naveen Chomal. There's one question that's come in from an anonymous person who says, what rules are applicable for creativity? Please ask the Sanskari Log to explain to us. There is another one who says, then in this case, men should not wear pants and shirts. They should only wear cotton dhotis if this is what Dr. Swamy thinks. Because of men like this, our country suffers. So please answer what is acceptable, what is not, so that all artists in the country know.
See, the issue which we are discussing today, let us first concentrate on that particular issue. Of course, Dr. Swamy has said many things which are fundamentally right, but he has opened a very large scope of discussion which may require 1 or 2 sessions more. But coming to the first issue, what is acceptable? See, there is something called civilization. And as my friend panelist said, that we are 1.2 billion and all because of sex and all these things. See, everybody knows how babies are born, but that doesn't mean we start doing physical intercourse on the roads. We are not dogs. So the point that I want to bring home is, if you see the particular dialogues of this particular movie, which the censor board has tried to cut, they are not even worthy of being told on the channel so openly. They are so vulgar and filthy. So just any nudity and vulgarity cannot be a freedom of speech and expression. Our constitution itself in Article 19 says that the freedom of speech is not absolute. There is something public health, decency and morality, those curbs can be there. So the words being used in the movie are so filthy and not...
Do you know just because
some people, yes, I have got a list of words with me, not even worthy of being reproduced on your esteemed channel. But please appreciate that some dirty people may be using this type of words within themselves, but that doesn't mean we show it on the screen to everybody. And as the wisdom prevails, that the movies, though we can give any certificate, but ultimately they're accessible to many people, even children.
But,
so it's better not to...
Naveen Chomal, this is for adult viewing, right?
Let me, right? See, and one more that argument that is being put very regularly, that it is just a certification board and cannot be a censor board cannot cut this thing. I think Mr. Pandit has contradicted himself. In the earlier part, he was objecting to cut, and when he was saying about Mr. Swamy, he said cuts were earlier there also, but now Mr. Swamy said something which is not acceptable. Come on, you are contradicting yourself. So coming to the cuts, I think, suppose I give a very small example. If we provide a body where just they can certify that which certificate can be gained, why do you require a body? Even a small person who is not having proper wisdom, just an ordinary person can also certify that this is A, this is you and all this thing. But ultimately, people who have got a sense of maturity, that what is good for public health and something which is very objectionable should not be allowed, are supposed to be in the body. And this particular government has done the right thing.
You seem to have, with all due respect, Naveen Chomal, we heard you out. No, we heard you out. We heard you out. We heard you out. We heard you out. No, we've heard your examples. You misunderstood what the board is for. The board, in its rules...
The board is not supposed to interfere in anything and just give certificates.
Yes, it's supposed to give certificates.
So for taking your argument, supposing...
No, not my argument. These are the rules of the board.
No, I'll explain the rules. That is not the rules you're interpreting. Supposing I make a very dirtiest film exposing the Gandhi family, the females of the Gandhi family in a more dirtiest manner, and then say CBFC should allow it, give a certificate or this thing.
Which film are you talking about?
So supposing I make a film tomorrow,
and let me point out to you, the Supreme Court has upheld the freedom of speech repeatedly.
They will beat the chest as if their mother has died. That time they will say that no, cut. It should be allowed.
The Supreme Court has upheld the freedom of speech repeatedly, especially if you're talking about...
Mr. Naveen,
in those particular cases, they must have upheld it, but not in every case. Every vulgarity and every nudity cannot be a freedom of speech and expression or creativity of artists.
Right, let me bring in Ashok, Divya Dutta.
Mr. Naveen,
freedom of speech
Mr. Naveen,
going out of the window.
Mr. Naveen.
Okay, one second.
Mr. Naveen.
We heard you out. Okay, calm down.
Mr. Naveen. Yes. What is vulgar for you cannot be vulgar for me.
Oh, it's a very old...
What is vulgar for you cannot be vulgar for me.
Mr. Pandit,
what is not vulgar for you?
Honest,
How can you...
that
how can you decide what is vulgar and what is not vulgar?
Even
how can you decide? If you think it's vulgar, you don't watch it.
Words are there in the movie.
If you think it's vulgar, you don't watch it.
CBFC is fully justified.
Why are you forcing your opinion on us? Why are you forcing your opinion on us? Why are you forcing your opinion on us? If you think it's vulgar, don't watch it.
We are trying to say there's something called civilization.
If you think it's vulgar, who will decide what is vulgar and not is vulgar?
Mr. Pahlaj Nihalani,
I have to see it. Who will decide? Mr. Naveen, who will
calm
decide?
Down, gentlemen, calm down. Let me bring in other members of the panel, please. Let me bring in other members of the panel. One second, calm down. Divya Dutta is an actor and part of the film Babumoshai Bandookbaaz. She's in the cast. Divya Dutta, you've been hearing, you've been listening in. First of all, I'm terribly sorry that your producer had to go through what she went through at the hands of the CBFC, where they questioned, how can a woman make a film like this? And then somebody else said, she's obviously not a woman, look what she's wearing. I think the person who said that should be removed from the board immediately. But Divya, as an artist yourself, and Nawazuddin Siddiqui spoke to us about an hour ago and he said, how do you expect us to work if we are constantly trying to figure out that, oh, this will offend Mr. Nahlani, we shouldn't say this, we shouldn't say that. We'll never be able to make films. Do you agree with him, Divya?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to begin with, I'm wearing a pant and a shirt and that doesn't make me any less of a woman at all. Secondly, I would like to just say that when these people who are making these norms and deciding which film to be watched and which not to be watched, I think Lipstick Under the Burqa is a big example in front of them. They defied again, they gave us all the cuts, and then the film is released and people just please go to the theaters and watch that. People really want to watch it. The film is doing well. So can we be credited as an audience to go watch what we want to watch? You certify a film and tell us, okay, this is adult, this is you, this is for the kids, this is not for the kids. Credit them with that kind of intelligence to go watch a film that they want to watch and they deem fit that this film is good for me to go and see it. Secondly, what are they saying with abusive language? I mean, do they ever go out on the roads? Do they deal with normal people? Do they ever hear abusive language? What makes them tell that a film only makes or mars a person's behavioral patterns? Really? I mean, every day, wherever you go on the road, if I'm making a film of a man who's a basic man from the road, I will take those behavior patterns. He abuses on the road. So these are the social conditionings that happen. This is not taken from a film. Anybody who gets into a theater doesn't come out saying, okay, I'm so impressed with these abuses. From today on, I'm going to start abusing. Really? I mean, please credit us with some kind of sensibility and intelligence. Please. I mean, this is like you. I totally agree with Nawaz on this one and with Ashoke Pandit. Please give us some kind of freedom to make a film. I mean, we are not making a classic film. We are making a film about a raw and rustic man. He will speak the language he's supposed to speak. If you're going to give us 48 cuts and an A certificate, where do we go? Which film do we present? This is not the film we made.
Absolutely, really well said. And I want to, one second. There are other members of the panel who have not spoken yet. I really want to point out the Cinematographers Act and then the rules of 1983
Can you hear me?
very clearly state that it is the board's job to hand out certification. If you think that there's something that children should not watch, by all means, give it an A certification. But if you're saying there are things that adults should not watch in our country,
Absolutely.
then do you think that we're children who cannot think for ourselves? This sort of attitude is completely unacceptable. I want to bring in Nasseer Abdullah. Nasseer Abdullah, we've had this conversation several times in the past where the board seems to think that it knows better than the larger adult population of this country.
You know something, I watched a film called actually Mother India with Nargis in the early 60s it was made, and there was a rape attempt by the villain Mr. Kanhaiya Lal, and she was a grown-up woman and everything else, and he tries and all that, and they've been showing rapes forever. That does not mean that the public, after watching these rape scenes or attempted rapes, will go out of the movie theater saying, okay, tonight we're going to rape. Sounds like a good idea. So when they show anything explicit or expletives are used, it is up to the discretion of the viewer to decide, well, yes, that was bad. I'm not going to be doing that. But my God, some people are like that, because it's true. Some people are evil. Some people are also murderous, criminals, and you name it. But the public needs to know it, and so long as you've got an adult like a certification, what else do you want? My only fear is that in the future, if they don't allow these movies to be made, the audiences will start to go looking for other similar films and heavier content through the internet. The porn is available, everything's available. Already the upper society guys are watching serials and TV serials, interesting stuff, which I don't know anything about, through the internet, through Flipkart or whatever it is. I don't know what the name is called, whatever. But it is crazy to assume that adult people will be misguided and will have a problem with all this. It is not fair. I mean, they're even advertising this thing. Whenever a person smokes, they have a sign at the bottom saying smoking kills. Are we stupid? Everybody knows it. Everybody knows smoking kills. They show a horrible effect of the smoking, a film about that before the film, after the interval. Come on, man. They should remove that ban, for God's sake, or ban cigarette making. Why are you allowing the cigarettes to be sold if smoking kills? So that shows hypocrisy to me. It is a bit unfair. I say, if it's an adult film, let it be. Give some people earplugs if they may have a problem with a certain scene, and they can put on earplugs before those expletives come.
Don't watch it. If you don't like the film, if you think the film offends you in some way, don't watch it.
Therefore, there's a trailer. Watch the trailer. If it offends you, don't watch the movie.
Or you watch it and say to all the other people, don't watch it.
Yeah, I mean, you're open to do that.
One more voice, Suparn Verma, actor and film director. And I want to come back to the fact that there was a film called The Argumentative Indian, which was a docu-film. It was a documentary based on the life of, Amartya Sen, Nobel laureate. And they were asked to cut out words like cow, like Gujarat, like Hindutva India. So there's, the brief is so loose at this point that the censor board it seems to have forgotten its brief entirely. It's completely overstepping.
It's becoming the Third Reich.
Yeah. Suparn Verma, go ahead.
Here's the thing, Faye, here's the thing, a couple of things. Number one, the Cinematograph Act is written in a way that's open to interpretation. There is no set guidelines set in stone. It's about certification, secondly. And thirdly, Mr. Naveen kept jumping up and down about the public health being destroyed by some kind of film being made. Sir, people watch a trailer, then they decide to spend their hard-earned money, and they go inside a theatre which is darkened with doors in it. You don't have mass public viewings happening. And even of a film like this, when it comes on television, it is anyway cut for mass public viewing with a different rule. And secondly, Faye, I just want to talk about, what Mr. Swamy said was very scary. He spoke about Hindutva mandate being brought on to the CBSV. I don't think any BJP member has even spoken about it so far. Till today, Mr. Swamy just mentioned it out in the public that with 37% of votes, they're going to actually bring in the Hindutva mandate. And what is Hindutva? Because it's not Hinduism. We all know that Gowalkar wrote it some 77 or 67 years ago. It's a very different breed of Hinduism altogether. So what exactly is happening? I mean, I'm kind of curious now, because so far nobody has ever talked about Hindutva, CBFC ever. They talk about Sanskari and stuff. And when I think people like Mr. Naveen or even Mr. Swamy said himself, he spoke about westernization. He's not even talking about Babumoshai Bandookbaaz. I don't think he's seen a film in a very long time. We have like Ashok ji said, we have extremely Indian films being made for the masses currently. These guys haven't gone to theatres in ages, and they keep talking about cinema. And why do they want to be everybody's daddies? People know what they want and what is good for them. They can pay taxes. They can make a country run with their hard-earned money. I'm sure they know how to spend it. Why do people have to froth at their mouth about such things? And today you have doctrines about cows, about words. It's absolute nonsense, and people keep spouting nonsense day in and day out, either on TV channels or on Twitter. I just think it's come to a very bizarre, satirical state of being in this country.
Absolutely, and the suggestion that somehow this certification body is carrying out the bidding of whatever the government at this point is standing for is slightly worrying. I want to go back to Divya Dutta. Divya Dutta was part also of the film Bhag Milka Bhag. Divya, while that film was given a tax-free...
Just one more thing, Faye.
Yes.
Just one more thing, Faye, is that the government actually installed the Sham Benegal committee to kind of make recommendations to the CBFC, because last year the industry got together and made a lot of noise after this whole Pahlaj Nihalani fiasco. He has come out with recommendations, and they have been tabled, and there is nothing that has been done on them. He actually talks about certified as per age. Secondly, these guys talk about, oh, children will go and see adult films. I mean, that is ridiculous. Today with multiplexes across the country, where you have privatized security guards standing there, no child is allowed inside theatres. Single screens have actually died out. We all know that. There are statistics. This is not even talking in the air. Right, so why can't adults see what they want to see by their own choice?
Why can't they be given the choice to watch? Yeah, this is fundamentally... and I want to just go back to Divya with this question, then I'll open it up for everybody. Divya, you were part of Bhag Milka Bhag, which was given a tax-free cut across the country. But there were scenes in that film that some people would have found to be of adult content. There was a lot of blood and gore. There was a lot of hacking with swords that happened in that film. Is there somehow, a grey area as to what is offensive and what is not? And we're leaving it to the minds of a few people, and we now discover that those minds are very narrow.
That's a very lovely question that you've asked. Actually, you're absolutely right. The film has had, there were a few scenes of sexual abuse which I shot for. There were violent scenes that of course show the partition and everything. But of course they see it with their own, that one-sided point of view that, okay, this is patriotism, this is about a sports hero. Let's just overlook that and give it a certificate. Not overlooking, not saying the film is a beautiful film. So are many others which are given those A certificates, but again we are being dictated by that one choice that this should be given A certificate, this should be given a UA certificate, and this should be given a U certificate. So this, I mean, I can vouch for a film I was promoting called Pullu. That film was about sanitary pads. And I was astounded and shocked to hear that that film was given an A certificate. A film that should be taken to colleges, to high schools, to girls for education of hygiene was an A certificated film. Why? I mean, you don't understand who makes these rules, who is it good for, because the audience totally thinks otherwise and differently. So can we please have a good film as a good film and have the freedom to decide that this is what we want to go and spend our money on and watch it as a good film, as a sanskari film or not a sanskari film, but we want to watch it nevertheless. So please let us.
Absolutely, we want to watch it nevertheless. I'm opening this up now to the panel. Everyone who wants to jump in can go ahead.
Let me answer a few questions. See, even the Supreme Court has ruled very categorically.
In which case?
Chandrakant Kakodkar's case, to be precise, long back also, that there has to be distinction between, say, books and a cinema, because a person can read a book, may not get so much impressed by that particular contents of the book, but the audio-visual effect of a cinema is far more deeper impact on the mind and the personality and the thinking of a person. So there has to be regulation on the cinemas. And therefore, we cannot ridicule the censor board that you are ridiculous people and unnecessarily putting cuts. So they are following a particular pattern of wisdom and thoughts that what is good for the decency of our body. Yes. No. Even for adults, even for adults,
the cuts that have been asked for here are only sexual, not violent at all. The blood and gore stays because that doesn't affect anybody. This sex affects sanskar. That's the problem.
If you are talking about artistic freedom, there is no doubt that artistic freedom should be respected.
How?
But supposing you are just under the garb of artistic freedom, you are just promoting all vulgarity.
It's not porn.
Yes, see the words that are used unnecessarily in the movie.
But what is wrong with that? Shawshank Redemption was never been made only in this country.
One second, Ashoke Pandit. See, by that logic, and I've seen the list of the words. Yes, I've seen the list of the words. There are plenty of films that have been released with those exact words. The word Sala has been asked to be beeped out.
There are far dirty words, far dirtier means we also.
Yeah, but you're not cutting the blood and gore, no? If you have a problem with certain things, then
Ashoke Pandit.
Not to give him ideas.
I want to rebut Mr. Naveen. Salah is not the word that is breathing. There are some very dirty words.
Can I rebut Mr. Naveen?
Yes, go ahead. Ashok Pandit, go ahead. Ashok Pandit, go ahead.
Mr. Naveen, please hear me out. Please hear me out, Mr. Naveen. नवीन साहब, आप समाज को बदलने की बात कर रहे हैं और आप समाज को बदलने की कोशिश करते रहिए, हमको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है उसमें. आपने एक फिल्म देखी है पर्च्ड? अगर नहीं देखी है, रात को जाके आप YouTube पे देखिएगा. उसमें 500 गालियां थी. फिल्म विदाउट एनी कट पास हुई है. कैसे पास हुई है? क्योंकि वो अजय देवगन की फिल्म थी, आपने पास कर दी उसको. दूसरी बात, आप लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं. यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट लॉ, यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ऑल द फिल्म्स which were about to be banned by CBFC have been released without any cuts by FCAT and High Courts. Urta Punjab is a classic example in front of you. You see what happened to Lipstick Under My Burqa. There were more than 60 cuts in that film and FCAT released it without any cut. Sir, देश तो यही है, law यही है, constitution यही का है. तो problem पहलाज निहलानी और आपको क्या हो रहा है? जब यही देश के कोर्ट्स आपकी फिल्मों को रिलीज कर रहे हैं विदाउट एनी कट, इज इट इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? हिपोक्रेसी क्या है? और आपको, आपके लिए कोई चीज अगर वल्गर होगी, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि मेरे लिए वो वल्गर है. आपको कोई चीज पसंद नहीं आती है,
something which is outrightly vulgar is outrightly vulgar for everybody.
Who decides outrightly vulgar? Who decides?
Who put you in charge of outrightly vulgar?
I want to ask you anything.
That is the beauty of
आपके लिए तो एक लड़की जीन्स और शर्ट में औरत ही नहीं है.
Suparn Verma is making a point. We want to be able to. Yeah, I'll give you a chance. Suparn Verma, go ahead.
For you.
Mr. Naveen, I have a question for you. Mr. Naveen, listen to me.
Yes.
In addition to what Ashok ji have asked, I have a very simple question for you. Mr. Naveen, listen to me. Listen to me. I want to ask you, I am an adult. I am using my money to go inside a 500 by 500 meter screen and watch it in the sanctity of that theatre, whatever I want to watch. What is your issue? The world is not watching it. I am an adult going and watching something which is abuses, which is whatever in it, by choice. Who are you to stop me? And how is this culture of India getting affected by it? Because you know, jokers like you keep jumping up and down in 97 when McDonald's came to this country. India's culture will be westernized by McDonald's. You know, McDonald's has been here for a very long time and nothing has happened. Vada Pav is also here, samosa is also here. So bottom line is this whole scare of westernization.
Arguments, argue on the logic. The very fact you have started resorting to calling.
We feel very happy to use all the convenience of West, but we don't want to kind of, you know, get scared and what, I mean, why do you want to control people?
No.
Why do you want to control people?
Nobody wants to control. Please appreciate this particular cuts and censorship is in all countries, not only our Indian country.
You spoke about public health. You spoke about public health. How is Babumoshai Bandookbaaz debate is right now?
Every country there is a certification board.
I want to know how is Babumoshai Bandookbaaz releasing as of right now?
Okay, one second. All right, gentlemen, calm down. Calm down. Divya Dutta wants to make a point. Divya, go ahead.
No, I just want to say, I as an actor acted in this film called Babumoshai Bandookbaaz. I spoke those lines, I enacted those scenes. I didn't feel it was any way odd or different from what the character would naturally have been. So when I'm not feeling it, who are you to decide that this is what should be cut off and this is not what you should see or hear or go and spend your money on? I mean, this is the kind of language, this is the kind of, go and see it, the place this film belongs to. People speak like that. It is a reflection. It's always mutual. How can you say that a film impressed me so much that I went ahead and spoke all those abusive languages because I saw it in that film? So just cut it. How do you give sanskars to people by censoring everything out and taking everyone's sense of freedom?
And why should I follow your sanskar? I mean, the fault of misogyny in this country is the 90s cinema. I mean, if you take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Including a movie called Andaz. Which was made by Mr. Nahlani himself.
Yes.
With the song Khada Hai, if you had a chance, please go take a look in it.
Yes, and I would, one second. Nasseer Abdullah has wanted to come in as well. Nasseer Abdullah, we've had a series of films called Grand Masti that nobody has had a problem with up till now.
The word khada is used in a very different context and he wanted removed.
Nasseer Abdullah, Grand Masti, apparently nobody's offended by it.
Okay.
Yes, it goes on.
I have a recommendation. Look. Sorry, I have a recommendation, though I'm a duffer, but I'm old enough to say certain things. And my contention is, there is no harm. Please go ahead to make the Sanskari films. The films are also based on Hindutva. No problem. Let there be variety. Let the people who want to see the Makhan Chor film and films also based on the Ramayana and on Shivji, etc. But there are other people who need to see other more different, maturer films because they live in another environment. They find them boring. So let them be. Give the people a choice to see whichever sort of a film they want to see. For example, if I have a family and if I have the children, I will take them to say Ganesha's film, or about about the Krishna, or about this say Chota Bheem and all that, which is fine. So it depends. We have a need. It is being fulfilled, and let it be. Make all these films, make films that are on the agenda of the government as well, but let other people watch what they would like to watch.
Arjun?
And these are interesting films, and they will not corrupt anybody. Nobody will be corrupted. Adults will be watching this film. You are safe. There is no danger to the public, in my opinion.
In fact, I would love if those people who are custodians of culture and who for some reason believe that they are, the people who hold or protect the culture in our country, they should actually go to multiplexes and single screen cinemas, stand at the door and make sure no children are allowed to enter. They should actually stand at the door and make sure that those people who bring toddlers into 10 p.m. shows of adult films are not allowed to bring their toddlers in. They
or any film.
Or any film. They should not be allowed. Do that. That's a good way to actually protect the children. But Arjun Gupta ji, आपको क्या लगता है? आपने नासिर अब्दुल्ला को अभी भी सुना, उनका कहना है कि हर तरह की फिल्म बनानी चाहिए हम लोगों को, हर तरह की फिल्म देखनी चाहिए हम लोगों को।
नहीं, वो तो ठीक है, अपनी स्वतंत्रता है, लेकिन मुझे दुख इस बात का है कि उस महिला के साथ, महिला निर्माता के साथ जो दुर्व्यवहार हुआ, एक अशोक पंडित जी के अलावा कोई कुछ उस बात नहीं कर रहा। आप सब फिल्मों में की बात कर रहे हैं, वो महिला किसी की माँ है, किसी की बहन है, किसी की बेटी है, उसके साथ जो दुर्व्यवहार हुआ उसके लिए कौन लड़ाई लड़ेगा, उसकी बात कौन करेगा?
लेकिन डॉक्टर सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी का कहना है कि उनको बोलो कि जाके फाइल कंप्लेंट करें।
ठीक है, वो तो होगी, लेकिन जब आदमी किसी का नियम बनता है, नियमानुसार उसके साथ अभद्र व्यवहार हुआ, वो फाइल भी करेगी। लेकिन हमारा कर्तव्य क्या है? वो किसी की बहन थी, किसी की बेटी है।
क्या आप थे उस टाइम?
मैं था उस समय।
सर, आप सेंसर बोर्ड के मेंबर हैं, क्या आपने उस आदमी को निकाला?
क्या
आप बताइए क्या कर रहे हैं?
देखिए, उस समय उस बहन ने कुछ आवाज नहीं की, नहीं तो मैं पहले खड़ा हो जाता था।
आपने आवाज नहीं की?
हाँ, उस बहन ने, उसको बोलना चाहिए था आप ये क्या कर रहे हैं।
सर, वो आवाज नहीं करेंगे।
सर, आप उस कमरे में थे?
हाँ, मैं था।
उस कमरे में थे सर उस वक्त?
मैं था ना वहाँ।
तो आपने आवाज क्यों नहीं उठाई?
आज जैसे मैंने नवभारत टाइम्स पढ़ा, तुरंत मैंने माननीय महोदय जी को पत्र लिखा।
भाई थे,
मुझे किसी ने बताया नहीं। मैं नवभारत टाइम्स अखबार पढ़ा, तुरंत उस महिला के
पहले आप बताइए कि क्या हुआ था वहाँ पे? मीटिंग चल रही थी।
हुआ एक महिला, अपनी जो अधिकारी थी तांडेल मैडम, उन्होंने बोला आप महिला होके ऐसी फिल्म कैसे बना सकती हो। दूसरे हमारे जो रविशंकर प्रसाद जी थे, वो तो बोले आप महिला होके पुरुष के कपड़े पहने हो। ये सब बोलने का तरीका है क्या? अगर उस समय वो बहन ने थोड़ी सी आवाज उठाई होती तो मैं खड़ा हो जाता था, लेकिन उन्होंने कुछ नहीं बोला मुझे।
तो आपने भी कुछ नहीं बोला?
अगर उनकी तैयारी होती तो मैं उनका साथ देने के लिए तैयार।
इसके लिए बात करें क्योंकि मुद्दा फिल्मों का है ना इस वक्त।
कैसे बात?
नहीं, actually, this is a very good point. This is a very good point. Let's take this one step further. If this is the narrow-minded sensibility of the people sitting on the board, who believe that women should not wear trousers, who believe आप महिला होके ऐसी फिल्म कैसे बना सकते हैं, तो वो क्या डिसीजन लेंगे, कैसे लोगों को बिठाया अपने बोर्ड में? That's a question we should ask today. And we have Arjun Gupta, who's part of the board. We have Ashoke Pandit, who's part of the board, who are sitting here on this panel tonight and saying that these people do not deserve to make these decisions because they do not represent the sensibility of the larger population of adults in our country. They should be removed. These two people, अब नाम फिर से बताइए मुझे, कौन थे दोनों?
रविशंकर प्रसाद
जी
और अधिकारी थी शीतल तांडेल.
These two people should be completely removed from the board. And I want to bring in Suparn Verma. Along with these two people, should the chairman of the board also be removed, Suparn Verma?
Well, that's what we have.
I think it's high time he's been removed because I think enough water has passed under the bridge. I think we have all seen the insanity that has ensued in the last 3 years, and it's almost a dictatorial attitude. The way the way it happened with Kushan, where he was told that if you go ahead, I'll double the cuts. Who says that? And why would you double the cuts? That's not the language you speak. You know, Faye, here's the thing. Let me tell you, I don't think people are aware of what happens when a filmmaker goes to a censor board's office. They literally feel a sense of guilt that we have made a film. They are made to stand outside for 2 hours while these 5 people will sit inside the room, watch a film. At the end of the film, they call you. You come inside with folded hands. You're not asked to sit. You're not introduced to anybody. And they tell you that, okay, fine, these are the cuts. If you ask for a discussion, they will do a discussion where their ears are closed. So they're not there to listen to you or have a discussion with you of any kind. They just tell you, we want this. So number one, if they tell you that, you know what, it's a A-certified film, it's your choice to ask and listen, give it a UA. Then they recommend cuts, you can accept or not accept, that's perfectly fine. But they say A with cuts and they don't even ask to allow you to argue. Firstly, this whole interface of, you know, us kind of going there with folded hands needs to stop. They are not your my-baps. Yeah. And that is the reason
made a great point. The studios managed to release their films.
One thing.
Ashok Pandit,
I will get together.
Ashok Pandit, go ahead.
I want to go much ahead of Supran. Fair. You see, if the person is going to meet the chairman, why is he asked to keep his mobiles outside? Why are the things not transparent? What is so secretive about it? What is so dangerous about it? Why is the director and producer asked to keep the mobile outside? What is so fearful about it? Why are you fearing the directors, the producers, the writers, the painters? What is so enmity about it? I really can't understand. And one more thing, I really want to thank Arjun Gupta that he stood up and he has written a letter today to the Handbay Minister. Otherwise, we would have not known who are the people who misbehaved with Kiran Shroff. I think if this would have not happened, we would have not known who has done this to Kiran Shroff. So that's why the association also has written a letter to Smriti today that these 2 officers should be suspended. They should be sacked because they have created a very bad name, and it is an issue where we're talking about, you know, freedom of expression of a woman, the dignity of a woman.
Yes,
and
yes.
if this is the way a woman treats a woman like this in the
right.
thing.
I also want to point out, just for the record, I want to point out that the Supreme Court responded to a PIL. One second. Right, the Supreme Court responded to a PIL filed by Amol Palekar to declare the provisions that empowers the CBFC to carry modifications in a film before public screening as unconstitutional. The Supreme Court asked that the INB Ministry respond to this PIL. The INB Ministry, at that point, the minister was, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, who said, we want to revisit the current CBFC system. So the Supreme Court and the central government very clearly saying that the entire system needs to be revisited. Also, Mr. Chomal listed out the case in the Supreme Court of Kapotkar. Let me point out to you, Mr. Chomal, Kapotkar won that case because he was arrested on the grounds of Section 292 on obscenity, and the Supreme Court found that his work was not considered patently offensive or of punitive interest.
But the principle that was laid down by the Supreme Court.
Let me finish. It's my show. Yeah. And the Supreme Court upheld in that case the freedom of speech and expression, as it has repeatedly upheld the freedom of speech and expression. So you were misquoting the Supreme Court when you spoke earlier, which I don't allow on my show.
In the movie.
You were misquoting the Supreme Court earlier, which I don't allow.
No, I didn't misquote.
Kapotkar won that case in the Supreme Court.
Did I say Kapotkar lost the case?
Supreme Court also, like I said, has asked for the INB Ministry. The Supreme Court has asked the INB Ministry revisit the rules currently that enforce the certification board. Adrian is on the phone line from Chennai. Adrian, go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now, I'm an adult and I have the intelligence to decide what I should see and what not to see.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. If I like the synopsis, or if I like the theme, or if I like the trailer, I pay money, I go and watch it. Now, I'd like to tell these people to stop behaving like nannies. Talking about cuss words. Cuss words is the norm of the day. It is being spoken in boardrooms. Supposing the movie is taken about a boardroom activity, every other word will be an expletive. Come on, grow up, guys.
Absolutely. If we were to list out the number of films that were made about Mumbai's underworld, the number of films that were made about politics, films like Sarkar, where people were swearing constantly through that film. Why is it that suddenly we're finding this offensive? Anurag Kejriwal on the phone line from Delhi. Anurag, go ahead.
Hi, Faye. Thank you. I think, Faye, it's high time. We've been discussing, I think your channel has been discussing on this issue and other channels have been discussing for the last 3-4 months. These guys, bunch of chokers sitting in CBFC. I think the INB ministry now, since Smriti Irani is there, she should just throw them out lock, stock and barrel and get a restraining order that they can't come near Delhi or Bombay for the next 10 years or something, That
Absolutely. You're right. I want to go back to Divya Dutta. Divya Dutta, if you heard the conversation that I had with Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Member of Parliament, Rajya Sabha, before we started this discussion, he said something rather worrying. He said because there was a groundswell of support for the current ruling party, the BJP, Hindutva is the new mandate, and that is why you will see a difference in the way films are certified and cut. Now, the certification body is not meant to pick up the hues and the sensibility of the ruling party. It is an independent body. It is meant to make decisions on certification. And that, I believe, is fairly worrying. Divya Dutta.
Well, I just feel everything that you say, I'm saying it again, but this worries me that I talk to anybody in my everyday life. I hear 10 abuses in one sentence, and that's a normal way they speak. And if I ask them, did you watch a film that impressed you and you brought this back? No. This is what they've been conditioned to in their social circumstances, their social backgrounds. This is how they speak to their peers. This is how they speak on their work levels. This is how they speak at their home. But because a certain film has been made, you're being told to remove words like sala. You're being told to remove a word like cow. Why? What purpose is it serving? How is it even impacting my life? I am going to watch a film. I'm going to watch a story well told. How does it matter to me if there are some words? If you don't want to go watch it, don't watch it. But if I want to watch it, who are you to impose your dictations on me that you don't watch it? Yes, somebody just said, don't be grannies to us. We don't need grandmamas. We can decide what we want in our lives. So I just this is actually worrying, very worrying that Hindutva is coming into certification, which it doesn't have to, not at all. We are all entitled to decide. We are all entitled to take our own calls and watch what we need to watch. If you don't allow me, I will watch it after a month on Netflix. So,
right. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. 1 second, Naveen Chomal. You can respond. 1 second. She's right. We're being asked to remove the word cow from films. We're allowed to say ma, mummy, mamta. गाय तो माता है. अगर मम्मी बोल सकते हैं तो cow क्यों नहीं? गाय क्यों नहीं बोलते हम फिल्म में? Naveen Chomal.
See, that particular word cow was in some different context. So that's why it was removed for some other sensational reason, not as a cow is a dirty word. And replying to Ms. Divya, there are two things. She is trying to downplay the situation.
Did you see the film?
Have you seen the film actually?
No, I have not seen that. To be very honest, See, rationally I am saying all this thing.
How do you know the context?
Coming to first,
you just made you're making statements that you're not backing. You said the word cow was used in a different film in a different context. Then you said you haven't watched the film. How do you know what the context is? How do you know what the context is?
Just because I have not watched the film, can I not say that it was in some different context?
That is the problem with you.
Okay, very well.
That is the problem with you.
Stick to that particular issue.
You can't take things for granted.
please, let me reply to Ms. Divya two things first. She's trying to say that there are certain words like Sala and that are removed. See, that are not the only words. There are certain far more filthy words.
But why was Sala removed then?
No, that may be one of the relation to the other dirty words.
You're just conjecture. You don't know anything. You're just making like assumptions. No, you don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow you to make like random statements on this show without backing it up. Okay. Naveen Chomal.
A person in jail.
How will you do it?
Another thing that Ms. Divya tried to say is that she is hearing all these dirty words in her daily life. I beg to differ. This is not our society. Nobody dares.
Must be your society. What are you? Which society do you live in? Which society do you live in? To be fair, it might not be Naveen Chomal's society, but is this the rest of us? We live in any society. How do you know what society we live in?
Who has the courage to talk to you using such dirty words? Does anybody? Come on. Does anybody? Anyone of your staff or anyone in taxi driver? Does he have the courage to talk to you?
How do you know?
Using the dirtiest of the words. Nobody.
Okay, Naveen Chomal. Okay, answer. Okay, these are all. You're grasping at straws at this point.
You are only for the sake of argument.
One second. Let me ask you if you would allow me. Yes, I do want to criticize the CBFC because I do believe that they're fundamentally out of turn and overstepped their boundaries at this point. But Naveen Chomal, answer this question that Divya also pointed out. Should Hindutva in any way influence the decisions of the CBFC? If you are saying that these are mature people, experienced people who should be making decisions that are good for society, should the ruling party's sensibilities and hue and color in any way affect the decisions being made by the CBFC?
Yes, I have got a very proper answer for it.
I'm sure you do. Go ahead.
Yes. Hindutva is not what you are interpreting in the narrow sense of religious, like Muslims and Christians, all this thing. No. Supreme Court has very categorically ruled that Hindutva is not just a religion, but it is a matter of our culture, and that is of this particular land, our country, for ages to come. So, if we analyze Hindutva in the sense of our culture and decency, our civilization is the most decent and the richest civilization in the entire world. And if we compare, so our Hindutva civilization is far more richer and superior to other civilizations. So there is nothing wrong in sticking to our morals and values.
Religion teaches you to kill. But let us not get religion into this.
No, nobody is getting religion into it. Nobody is getting religion into it.
आपको लगता है कि censor board
in the sense of our culture and our traditions which have been followed for ages together.
One second, let Arjun Gupta answer. Arjun Gupta, do you believe कि आपको लगता है कि censor board की और CBFC की अभी जो निर्णय है वो ruling party की तरफ से होनी चाहिए क्या members की wisdom की तरफ से?
नहीं, उसमें रूलिंग पार्टी का कोई अर्थ नहीं होता है। वो सब नियम से होता है, जो नियम रहता है उस आधार पे होता है। हो सकता है काट छाट में कहीं ज़्यादा कहीं कम हो जाता है, इसके ऊपर मैं टीका टिप्पणी नहीं करूँगा, लेकिन रूलिंग पार्टी से इसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है। क्या तो फिर मुझे आपसे ये पूछना है कि पूरी 90s में, जैसे नेवल बता रहे थे, इतने सारे फिल्में थी जो मुंबई की अंडरवर्ल्ड के बारे में बनाया गया था, जेल के बारे में बनाया गया था, पॉलिटिक्स के बारे में बनाया गया, सरकार जैसी फिल्म, उसमें काफ़ी सारे ऐसे कर्स वर्ड्स थे, शब्द थे। साला और उससे काफ़ी आगे वो पूरे रिलीज हुए, तो अभी उसी शब्द से क्या फ़ायदा, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? नहीं, वो तो उस समय जो कमेटी बैठती है उस पर निर्भर रहता है। कमेटी कौन है, क्या है, कैसे है, चेयरमैन के लोग हैं कि किसके लोग हैं, उस हिसाब से वो सब चलता है। उसमें कोई
इस बार की जो कमेटी बैठी है उनमें ऐसे लोग हैं जो सोचते हैं कि औरतों को पैंट शर्ट नहीं पहननी चाहिए।
हाँ, थे ना।
तो इसकी वजह से हो रहा है क्योंकि कमेटी में गलत लोग बैठे हैं।
गलत लोग है ना।
So, आपको लगता है ये सारे डिसीजंस फंडामेंटली गलत है?
उसकी मैं छटाई के लिए माननीय मंत्री महोदया को पत्र लिख चुका हूं और इसमें छटाई होने की जरूरत है। मैंने मंत्री महोदया को पत्र लिखकर बता दिया कि इसमें छटाई करने की जरूरत है। कुछ अच्छे लोग हैं तो कुछ बुरे लोग हैं। कुछ बुरे लोगों की वजह से पूरा सेंसर बोर्ड बदनाम होता है, इसलिए मैं मेरी आवाज़ सभी सेंसर बोर्ड को बदनाम ना हो, इसलिए मैं आज आपके यहाँ बैठा हूँ।
All right. We have a couple of people on the phone line. Dr. Hemdev on the phone line from Mumbai. Dr. Hemdev, go ahead. Dr. Hemdev, can you hear me? Okay, Ajit from Bangalore. Ajit, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask this wonderful advocate of ours. You know, a couple of years back, as a kid, I remember seeing, that movie Satyam Shivam Sundaram. And, Silk Smitha and Kamala Hassan in fantastic poses. And you had Zeenat Aman in fantastic poses. That time all this culture was not there. Why is culture coming in all of a sudden? You mean to say our uncles and aunties who watch those movies are bad? Are bad people right now?
Just because some people in the past allowed certain wrong things to happen or be screened, that does not preclude the present team to go by the rule book.
Decide what is wrong, yeah. On what basis are you saying this is wrong?
This could go on for a while.
Till a few years back, till before 1985, even dowry was permitted, means there was no punishment for dowry. But the government, dowry is wrong. So can the government not make the law?
Okay, all right. Calm down.
Make a film about dowry?
Okay.
They've been happening for 56 years.
I want to ask something.
Divya Dutta, go ahead.
I want to ask. Yes. I just want to ask a simple question to this gentleman. That if... I just want to ask a simple question. Here's Babumoshai Bandookbaaz based on a serial killer's story. It's a serial killer story who's a gunda. Is he expected to say, Aye Shriman, Asan Grahan Kariye, and the censorship will be very happy about it? Is this how he's going to speak, or will he speak the language that he's meant to speak? I mean, who do we stand true to the place that the Gunda belongs to? Or
there are so many movies made earlier also. We have shown gangsters, dacoits using that sort of this thing, but they don't use dirty words. Even in the Sholay movie, Gabbar Singh was shown to be a very notorious dacoit. But he never used
all right, I have to wrap this up. I've run out of time. I want to thank all of our panelists for coming in here. But there is a general, Mr. Pandit, there's a general confusion about what our culture is as this country. I would like to remind our panel and our viewers what our culture is. Ours is a culture in India that guarantees each of us the right of equality, the right of education, the right of freedom from exploitation, cultural and educational rights, the right of speech, freedom of religion. That is our culture. That is the culture that the Constitution of India gives to us. There is no culture, no rule, no writing, no book in this country that is greater than the Constitution of India, irrespective of what anyone may think. There is no wisdom greater than the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court's doors are always open to those people who seek the right to freedom of expression and speech, the right to freedom of religion, and cultural and educational rights, guaranteed to us by our Constitution. You may bicker about it as much as you want. There is no other truth. Thanks for watching.